Hello friends, it's Jackie Ballheis from Clomp & Stampers. I have a super fun project to share with you today. It's focusing on using just dies. We're going to use 2 different sets of dies, and I have a ton of tips for using dies in your card making, and especially when they're the detailed dies and how to get them all adhered down and everything. So you're going to want to watch and catch all my tips. And I think you might like the cards. At least I hope so. So let's go ahead, flip the camera down, and let's get die cutting. Alrighty, like I said, this video is all about the dies. We're going to use the Patchwork Pieces dies, I think is what they're called, along with these greeting dies. And I have so many tips, especially when we get to these. But these dies, I think they're kind of one of those sleeper items in the catalog that you might have missed or you've seen and thought, ooh, that's a lot of work. I don't think I can do that. But I've had a blast playing with them, and I want to share with you my tips and what I like to do when I make cards with them. So you can see I've already done the die cutting here. So I used this one, and I took 3 different pieces of paper from the Masterfully Made Designer Series pack and already cut out with the dies. And I kind of, like pulled them out of the dies right here on the paper to try to keep them in order. Now, when I did this, I wanted to really get like patterns or colors that contrasted a lot. And you'll see with the other set of samples I have, because I have 3 other cards I'll share when I'm done with this one, that you want that contrast so that you really see the fun of the patchwork dies. Now, I've shared quilting cards before. As many of you know, I love to quilt as well. And this falls right into those quilt card category. It even has like the little stitching marks on there. So what I did after I cut all 3, I think of this as like a stack and shuffle. We've done that with Designer Series paper layouts in the past, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. So I'm going to start with a bottom corner piece because I want to make sure I have a corner edge because that will help me get everything straight. And we're going to put some adhesive on it, and let's keep it turned the right direction. And I'm going to glue it down to my piece of basic white here. And that basic white's not going to show. So you could use a scrap of whatever color you want. I think I have this at like 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. Now, all the measurements and the supply list I'll have over on the website so that you can go over there and grab it. There'll just be a link in the video description to find that information. So we started with the first one. Now we're going to move over to the next color here, and we're going to work our way clockwise. So we're going to take the next piece here, and this is why I said keep them in order after you've cut them, because we're going to stick that there. Whoa, it slid. That's why I like green glue, especially something like this, because you can slide it right into place or away from you. But I'm using my edge, and then I'm pushing it down so it's really nice and tight to the one there. Then we're going to come down to this color. So our next one in our circle. So I'm only going to make 1 card for you here, but you'll see by cutting 3 like this, you will have all the pieces to make 3 cards. And after I finish this one, I will share with you a whole set of 3 that I made using other Designer Series paper. So now when I get up to the top here, you'll notice it did not go right up to the top. And that's why I like to start at one corner and I'm working along that way. So next we're gonna come along this edge. And then after I get these all glued on there, we're just gonna take our paper trimmer and trim it really nice and tight. But I found that was the easiest, for lining it up. Okay, so we're gonna come down here now, and and this is where you got to kind of think. We're coming down to our green, because that would be our next one as we're rotating colors here. And we're going to work our way along the bottom, because again, this just helps me line them up because I can use that bottom edge of the cardstock. Slide it over, so there's green. So our next one, we're kind of going backwards. So this it does mess with your brain a little bit. But if you realize on your little pinwheel here, you're just alternating the 3 colors. So yellow, green, pink. Those aren't official color names, but that's what we're calling them today, right? Oh, that one slid on me too. I'm trying to slide them too quick. Okay, so then yellow. So our next one will be this corner piece right down here. And I feel like they start getting all messed up on you, and then it's like, which piece is which? Now again, my piece is a little bit bigger than I needed, but that gave me some wiggle room as I worked my way around, and we'll just trim that off. Okay, so we're coming up now on this side. So I don't know if all these are still in your view, but I've got them all laid out here. So we'll do our green. That one's going to go right there. I think Pretty Peacock, I think, is our color there. And then up again will be this one. And you can see we're almost around, and then we're going to trim it. And then I'm going to show you a bunch of tips for using those word dies. Because if you're like me, I really struggled when I started playing with them, but I have lots of tips, and you'll see how easy peasy they are. And I think you're going to love them. I do. I don't use them enough. I need to use them more because they're so fun. Okay, there's that one. And let's see, what do we need next? We need our green. So that is going to be this piece. I think I got a little glue on my hands and they stick to me as I try to pick them up. Okay, line it down there in the center, up at the top, push it in tight. Oops, slide it in tight. And then we've got one more. And we have our pinwheel complete. So let's put this in here. Then I'm excited to show you how we finish this card and put our greeting on there. So that should fit right down there like so. There you go. Sometimes you might be off just a smidgen, but that's okay when we trim it down. Alrighty, so let me move these so that we have some space to work on this because I want to keep these kind of in order so I can finish these other cards later. Okay, so we are just going to take our paper cutter here and we're going to trim this nice and close. We don't want to see any of that white. Now, I have seen some people that adhere these right down onto a layer and they leave a space on there. I just found that I wasn't very accurate doing that. It was kind of driving me crazy. The other thing you can do is when you're placing them, because I've seen people do this too, is you can leave spaces in between them. And if you do that, like in this case, and you're adhering them onto white, you would get like a white space in between them. So there's really so many different options to playing with these, but that's kind of the look I like there. So now I just have another piece of white. This is actually the same size that I started with. And what I'm gonna do is adhere this down. And again, this is just what made it easier for me to get things lined up the best I could. Okay, so there is that. Now let's move on to our word dies. These are the wanted to say word dies. And again, I think these are a little sleeper in the catalog because if you don't go back to that die section, you don't see them. And this set comes with Happy Birthday, You're Too Kind, Feel Better Soon, and Celebrate. We're going to use the Celebrate. And these are what I call double dies. Kind of like two-step stamping. This is two-step die cutting. And with each one, you have your more bold piece and then you have your more detailed piece. So the whole idea is you cut out the bolder piece, you cut out the detailed piece, and you hear them together. Now, like I said, I stayed away from this kind of die for a long time because it was just too detailed and I struggled. How do you put it all together without getting frustrated? So I want to show my tips and I think it's easy peasy. So the first thing you're going to do is cut out your bold one. And I did that already. I cut it out of a piece of basic white and you can see there it is. So it doesn't look like much on its own, but that's our first piece we need. Now for the detailed one, we're gonna cut this one out of black. So it'll layer black on top of that white, but it's gonna be really hard to glue because it's so little, even with my green glue. So what I'm going to use is a piece of our adhesive sheets. Now these come in big long pieces like this. And when I use them, I just cut myself a size that a little bit bigger. That's a little overkill. I could have even cut it smaller to be more conservative, but a good size of the die that I'm going to cut out. And then we're going to take this and stick it onto our cardstock. Now notice this will peel apart like so. And this side is sticky. It's like super sticky. So to make it easy for placement, I will stick it right up at the top like so. Now here is the important part. When I go to cut this Celebrate, I need to make sure I have the adhesive on the back because if you don't, you're going to have a mirrored image, and that doesn't work so good. So I just line this up on my cardstock, making sure that the paper, that adhesive paper is underneath, and then I run it through my die cutting machine, just like I always do. Now I pre-cut one for us, so it's going to come out like so. And you can see back here is the back side of this adhesive sheet. So to put these together, and this is what really does make these easy, I take the pointed end of my Take Your Pick tool, and if you need to use it, this will help you. You just got to kind of pick under there. Sometimes I can get it with my fingers easier. Sometimes I need to use this. How is that coming off that way? Because it is so stinking thin. So there we go. Oh, there we go. Pick at it. Did I get it? There we go. And then just peel off this backing. And what that's going to do is it leave adhesive on here now, because those adhesive sheets are double-sided. Now this is what at first I thought was hard, because see how stretchy this is and it can get so out of shape? What you want to do is start, see how I have it above my hand, just barely sitting there. If I start way over, and hopefully you can see my hand's not in the way, at that left edge, and then I'm going to hold it up and just work it down letter by letter. And this is so flexible, I can move it to fit right into that base. Sticking to my fingers. It will stick to your fingers, but you can see how I'm just kind of moving it to fit exactly where I want it to, like so. And voila, there we go. So now we're going to go ahead and stick this onto our card. Now, because we haven't used dimensionals yet, we got to do that. And we're using mini dimensionals. So here too, I like to use the pointy end, and I can pick them up with that, and we'll stick them on there. Let's see, I don't know, let's put about 4 in here. I don't think one will fit there, but this will hold it good. And then if you struggle with your dimensional backs, just kind of stab them like so, and they'll pop right off. And then we can go ahead and we're going to stick that. You'll see there's one teeny tiny little hole in the middle where those pieces went together, but that gets covered up when you put a greeting over it. So we can stick that on there like so. And then I have a piece of lemon lolly. I thought that would just pop. And there we go. That quick and easy. Well, I shouldn't say quick. We'll call it easy, because it's a little bit putsy, but it's a lot of fun. I was able to make a card with those patchwork dies. Now let me share the other ones that I made with you. Now I did these right before I came on to do this video, so I didn't put them down on the backs yet because I wasn't sure what color I liked. So I was playing around. I kind of like very vanilla. And if I put it on here, I'm going to use dimensionals and pop it up just a little bit like so. And I'm like, wow, this color works really good too. And I can't for the life of me figure out, remember right now what color that is. Mine black. I will have all these colors listed on that blog post too. Goodness, goodness. And then I also thought, well, what about crumb cake? Crumb cake would look really nice too. So what I'm going to do is decide what colors I want to put all these on, you know, and maybe we need to put that one there and that one there. Who knows? So on that blog post that I have said, I will have pictures of these 3 cards so you can see how I finished them, as well as I'll head to here this one down, see the pictures of this too. I'll list all the colors I used and as well as all the products. So if you would like to purchase these fun dies, there's also this one. I didn't make a card with that one. But you can see the 2 different ways you can do the patchwork here. Actually, I have a card with this. I'll put a picture of this one. I'll put a picture of the card on the blog post as well, so you can see something made up with this one. So check out that blog post, lots of details and information there. And then if you'd like to purchase these dies, you can easily do so there as well. So thanks for watching. I hope you like the projects, but most importantly, I hope you picked up some tips that maybe you can use with other dies and when you're making your own cards, no matter what products you're using. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll be stamping again with you real soon. Have a stamp happy day.